Welcome into the Ringerverse. This is, of course, the Ringers Nexus podcast feed for all things fandom. This is a special House of Midnight episode. We have the Midnight Boys. Let's give them a pew pew, fellas. A pew pew! Pew pew! Pew pew! Along with our sisters from the House of R. And we want to come together to celebrate and commemorate one of the most important movies of the year, something that we had to assemble to talk about because it's just that important. But before we get to that, we're going to make sure that you guys follow us on socials, Insta, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Save Jomi's Job. We're on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, share. You can watch every Midnight Boys and House of R episode on youtube.com/@Ringerverse. I'm rushing through this because we have a lot of pod to give you guys, but I have to give you the... Tomorrow, the Midnight Boys will give you their reactions to episode 3 and 4 of Skeleton Crew. The plucky kids are back. And what's going on with Aden? Where are they? What's going on? We'll tell you all about it. Steve's so excited. He loves children. On Thursday, the House of R will be giving you their deep dive on Skeleton Crew. Instant reaction and then deep dive. Also on Thursday, the Midnight Boys, we're going to be back to give you our reactions to the trailer of Superman Legacy. And it is a big moment.
Yes.
Because we're going to know in a matter of seconds whether we're cooked or not.
All right, let's not do that.
No,
let's
don't do that.
Come on. Thursday, bro. Let's not do that. Come on, bro. Get to the action.
But on today's show, we're bringing together the Ringerverse family to talk about the most important film of the year, the most groundbreaking film of the year, Kraven the Hunter. Spoilers for Kraven, if such a thing can be spoiled, Steve, right away. We're getting ready to talk about the episode. You're listening to a reaction podcast. The spoilers are coming. Okay, you guys didn't know that we were doing this, but I called a friend for a favor, and it wouldn't be a podcast if we didn't have a Midnight Manifest. And I know that Chuck was really, really dying to do this, so Chuck Wagon, take it away.
All right, this is your Midnight Manifest for Kraven the Hunter, directed by J.C. Shandor, written by Richard Wenk, art Markham, Matt Holloway, starring Aaron Taylor Johnson, Ariana DeBose, Russell Crowe, et cetera, et cetera. All right, so Russell Crowe picks young Kraven and young Chameleon up from school, and he's like, your mom is dead. And they're sad. He's like, damn, you boys are soft. So like many white fathers before him, Russell Crowe decides the perfect way to fix them is a hunting expedition to Africa. The Rhino, without his powers, is also there on this hunting expedition, and Russell Crowe does not fuck with him. While in Africa, young Kraven is attacked by a lion and on the verge of death. Thankfully, Ariana DeBose is like, damn, man, here's a magic animal power potion. Young Kraven then runs away from home because he can't get down with his dad killing animals and being a mobster. Then in the present, Kraven has devoted his life to taking out bad guys and running around with animals. The Rhino, still beefing with the Kravinoff family, kidnaps a chameleon. He also has super strength and super eczema. Hijinks ensue. Kraven teams up with Ariana DeBose, and they defeat the Rhino, save Chameleon, and then Kraven takes out his dad after realizing he was behind the entire plot. That's been your Midnight Manifest.
Oh my God. Charles.
Sensational.
Wow. Charles, you're a national treasure. A true gift.
Incredible.
Yeah. Definitely better than the movie. Wow.
Whoa.
Not hard.
Not hard. Let's not say that. We all don't lie. We all had a blast in that theater. We were laughing the entire time.
I had fun at the movies with my friends and a delicious, frankly, full buffet spread from the AMC Century City.
It's too early.
And the salted chicken tenders.
Mallory ate.
Mal, let's start there. Let's start with our sisters over at the House of R.
Sure.
Look, I saw this movie not with you guys. I was alone in a theater in Miami. And when I say alone, I mean I was the only paying customer to a showing of Kraven the Hunter in Miami. I was the only person in the theater. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Obviously, this is not a masterpiece. We'll talk about some of the problems with Sony's movie making a little bit later. But like Mal and then Joe, what were your immediate reactions and feelings walking out of the movie?
Thank you for asking. First of all, let me say what a pleasure it is to be here with all of you today to celebrate the cinematic event of the century. It's not lost on any of us. You know, we always enjoy a team up, but we do, I would say, disproportionately, as observed in the Reverse group chat recently, come together to talk about Sony movies. So that's something we should all spend some time reflecting on this holiday season. I have been looking forward to Kraven the Hunter for
2 years.
Years. Literal years.
Yeah.
Because as everyone knows, this movie was delayed 4 times? More times than I have an accurate accounting of currently, gathering with you all today. And what that meant was that time after time, House of Our Hype Meter after House of Our Hype Meter, I found an excuse to talk about Kraven and how much I was looking forward to Kraven, based, I would say, like 40% on being excited about the character and like intrigued about the comics icon, classic member of the Rogues Gallery making his way to the screen, and like 60 to 70% because of Aaron Taylor Johnson's abs in the marketing material. So that's what I brought into the theater. You know, it's not what I left with. What I left with was a month's worth of selfies that I'd taken in front of the Kraven cutout and sent to Joanna, and a lot of despair. I did have fun at the movies with my friends. Charles is right. I was laughing. I was sighing deeply. I was looking side to side, thinking about what had gone wrong and how it had gone wrong. I do feel sort of deceived based on the very ab-forward marketing material. But I believe there are only 3 actual shirtless scenes in the film. So that's something I'd really love us to spend a little bit more time breaking down today. But, you know, if you just really pan back and think about the essential elements, we have a comic book icon played by a really fit, hot guy who loves animals. All the ingredients of a Mallory Rubin special. And so I'm just really lamenting the fact that this movie was such a debacle. It finally killed Sony's Spider-Man universe. But I will celebrate the fact that it gave us all an excuse to share this time together today. Joe, over to you in the studio.
Yeah, thanks so much for that report in the field, Mallory. After Mallory saw this movie, she drew me into her study, and there was the head of Kraven mounted on the wall, and she said, "Let this be a lesson to you, Joanna." I want to talk about 2 side characters and how I feel they really underline how the problem we have found ourselves with here. First and foremost, Ariana DeBose. An Oscar-winning actress is in this movie. But is she in this movie?
How dare you, Joanna? Not my girl.
Yeah.
Your
Joe?
girl Calypso? That's my question. I have a question about that. Is she actually physically in this movie?
We weren't there for the acting.
I am unsure. Secondly, on the flip side, Christopher Abbott as the foreigner is blameless. He's actually wonderful in this movie. The character is cool and intriguing, and I'm like, why aren't I watching a movie about the foreigner?
Don't do this.
What did I say?
I'm dead serious. I'm dead
Don't do
serious.
this. No.
He was cool.
I love this.
He
Don't
was
do this.
cool.
All right.
No, don't do
really
this.
cool.
Don't do
Yeah.
this. Nah.
I was like, I
Nah.
and then spoiler for Kraven, I guess we already said that. He dies, and I was like, well,
Sad.
but I would have watched a Foreigner spinoff movie. Like, I thought I will watch a Foreigner origin story movie if Chris Abbott wants to make it. So, yeah, the fact that he had more charisma than Aaron Taylor Johnson, an incredibly charismatic performer, is troubling and perturbing. And Kraven, I straight up had a bad time with this movie. No. I had a great time with Russell Crowe's accent and also Alessandro Nivola's accent, both of which were competing for have you ever literally heard a Russian in your life? So yeah, that's where I am.
So Midnight Boys, JC Shander, the director here, directed Margin Call, All Is Lost, A Most Violent Year, Triple Frontier, and then Kraven the Hunter. That's quite a mix of films right now. Sony was so impressed with his final cut of this movie, they actually greenlit another movie for him. That's a true fact. I looked that up. That's an actual real fact. Charles, you're the highest on the movie. What do you like about Kraven the Hunter?
Oh man, just what is there not to like? It was the funniest movie of the fucking year. It's Kraven with a K. When the chameleon was sitting on the piano and they're like, how do we introduce the chameleon? How do we show the audience that he can do whatever? They're just like, he's going to cover a Harry Styles song. I'm like, let's fucking go, man.
Inspired. Yeah.
Inspired choice. Ariana DeBose, just incredible work throughout the entire film. I wasn't really familiar with her game, but I am now. Great fan. Number one fan. Jomi.
I would
Don't
argue,
lie.
I would argue, Charles, you are not familiar with her game because she didn't bring any of it to this particular film.
Whoa.
Yeah.
She has it. She just didn't bring it here today.
Is this how y'all feel usually when like y'all are all really, really positive? And then I'm like, I don't know about this. I feel like I'm on an island. I had a great time. I thought we were going to share and bond over a masterpiece. And I guess that's not what happened. I'll say this. Madam Web, Kraven, all of it. I know we're going to talk about the Sony universe in a bit.
Yeah.
We made a lot of friends during the way. You know?
It's true.
We made a lot of friends, and I would take a bad but funny movie over a bad, boring movie. But I also agree with Mal. Not enough abs. I think this movie could easily be like a 70% better movie if they're just like, you know what, Aaron, shut up with the bad accent. Just take off the shirt. Just walk around the room one bit.
This is a really violent movie. The action stretches are actually great, and it should also be a fuck fest, and then it would be iconic. Like, this could have been a Pantheon installment if we actually like leaned into this is a intense, serious, like hard R movie. The last shot when Kraven, I know it's not my turn. I'm sorry. When Kraven finally puts on the comic book outfit, and he leans back into the chair and he's admiring himself in the mirror, like the cutout at the multiplexes across our country. And I had a moment where I thought to myself, like, are we about to go Robert in Industry season 1? Is he about to like whip it off and jack off in the mirror? And that's what should have happened.
Whoa.
That would have been a better movie. That's the kind of energy we needed in Kraven the Hunter. They could have done that.
I saw none of that when he sat down as Kraven. I was just laughing at the costume. I wasn't just like, yeah, now he's about to just jerk.
There are more abs. There are
yo.
more abs in the trailer. There are shots in the trailer of his abs that are not in the movie. JC Shandor, I banned the ab cut of this movie.
Doesn't it seem like they had a thought of a movie they wanted to make and then they wouldn't commit all the way? Because the movie is hyper violent, but at the same time, it's got that same comic booky bullshit tone to it that it doesn't take itself very seriously. It wants to rip heads off, but it wants to rip heads off for kids, it seems like almost. Because it doesn't get seedy enough. It doesn't get crazy enough. Jomi, I know you loved it. What did you think?
The movie stinks. Like, that's just what it is. It wasn't good. To Joanna's point, and this is like the biggest thing for me, you cast Aaron Taylor Johnson, just super charismatic, just a ball of charisma, and you have him do absolutely nothing the entire movie. Like what are we doing here? Quite actually, you know, I do have to give the movie this though. Alessandro Nivola, the villain, the Rhino, was in his bag of movie.
Amazing.
It was great. It was amazing. I don't know. When he's looking out the window, holding whatever, and he just goes, ah!
Hell yeah!
For no reason. It has nothing to do with anything.
That was good.
He's talking to the chameleon. He's like, hey, man, yeah, I was with your dad. We used to do this thing. It's like, I never seen you before. He's like, they used to have longer hair. I was dying.
Yeah.
That's funny to me. Outside of that, though, just horrendous. I don't know how they put this to screen and we're like, you guys are going to enjoy this. It was just, I just thought it was a mismatch of a whole bunch of things wrong with the Sony universe. And
I really agree with Jomi. I feel like Alessandro Nivola, who made the camp classic Face Off a million years ago, is like, I know exactly what is required for this. I've done it and I can do it again. Watch me do it. And Fred Heckinger, who I love, is just like, I'm in actually quite a serious movie about a troubled young man. And I was like, Fred, I love you. I love you, but you needed your Gladiator 2 energy and you forgot to bring it to the party.
Yeah.
Nobody got the same assignment at all.
Yeah. Yeah, Fred was still in White Lotus season 1 instead of Gladiator 2. That's a tough one. You're right. Totally. Rhino, the reason Rhino understood the assignment is because Rhino was in a Venom movie. And the Venom movies are actual masterpieces.
Also, I don't know if you know this about rhinos, but they don't hesitate when they see something they want. They just charge right in. And that's what he did in this film.
Hell yeah. Good writing. Good writing.
I like Rhino. Rhino was carrying the movie. Every single scene when he was on camera,
his little backpack,
his little tube, where he would Hulk out and it would hurt. Steve, when they did you're quiet, Steve.
Oh, well, yes, I agree with everything that everyone has just said. I think the biggest thing that I had when I had seen this movie, I, like you, Van, was alone in a theater.
Same.
Almost by myself, but it made it a lot more sad and a lot less enjoyable than if I were to be seeing this with friends. And I think that would be the biggest regret, is to not see this movie with a bunch of like-minded folks like you guys. But the biggest problem to me is the same problem with every Sony movie, and it's every Sony like Spider-Man spinoff, and it's the fact that it doesn't seem to want to commit to what it is. And like we've said before, nobody got the same assignment. I don't even know if they had a meeting on set. I feel like people just came in at their leisure and filmed a movie. And with all of these combobulated pieces, yes, the Rhino was absolutely the best thing about this movie. But I will not stand for Paul Giamatti erasure. I will not. That's my Rhino.
Yeah. We were cheated.
No, I love Paul Giamatti.
The two scene Rhino
movie.
I think we deserve is a multiverse where we get all the rhinos together.
I want and
That's
I will
exactly
be
right.
the change of rhinos that I want to see in the world,
Yeah.
and that starts with Paul Giamatti.
So something interesting about the movie. By the way, the Paul Giamatti Rhino is a fucking. It's a debacle. It's a abomination.
What are we talking about?
It's a fucking abomination. It's terrible.
Wait.
I love
Golden
it.
Globe winner Paul Giamatti. Like, what are you?
When they had him as the Rhino,
why are you disrespecting Giamatti right now? Like, what did he ever do to you?
An abomination. Guy in a rhino suit, not going for it. So it's interesting about this movie. $110 million budget. $110 million budget, right? Spent a lot of money.
We can tell.
15% Rotten Tomatoes score. What do you guys think the audience percent on the movie is, though?
I know the answer to this, so I won't participate. I looked it up. It's astonishing.
Is it like 83%?
It's really close.
Yeah.
Wait,
What?
what?
I feel like
73%.
audience
It's
scores never go
73%.
lower than like yeah.
Hey, man.
Yeah.
Open up the schools.
They never.
It's the first time in recent months we've had reason to doubt the wisdom of the
Absolutely
collective here. So I'm shocked.
The audience, the audience scores on Rotten Tomato. By the way, just like a weird,
Popcorn meter.
stupid metric, like never goes below 70-something%, unless it's like a concentrated review bombing effort on a project. So
Can I say
Of all
really
the
quick
things to
before,
not review bomb, let me tell you.
before we move off the plot, I did realize this prepping for this. If you're the grandma to Ariana DeBose and you're just like, you give like an heirloom where you're like, this is basically our super soldier serum. We made our family made this. And she's like, you're going to know exactly what to do with it when the time is right. And you just give it away to this random child who basically turns into a murderer. I feel
white boy.
as our family.
The Secrets of Africa. I was tripping. The Secrets of Africa and the whole nine. And the first rich white boy you see, you give it to him. What the fuck is this movie trying to say?
Yo. And he's like, oh, I've been looking for that my whole life. You gotta have some more. She's like, I ain't had no more. He dies again.
She gives it
and
to
you'll
him
never
again.
guess. She gives it to him again.
Oh,
She
God.
gives it to him again.
It's
It's
because she's
an
like,
unserious film. It's an
because
unserious
she
film.
knows we have yet to see the promo photo from the poster, and if
That's
we
right.
don't get it, we're gonna riot. Was it 20 minutes of the movie that were with the teenage version of Kraven?
It might have been longer.
might have been
It had to be
longer.
longer.
It's an
So
arduous amount of time.
long.
We were there for like 3
longest
days. It was
Origin story I've ever seen.
Literally, I thought they were gonna do a couple of scenes, and then I got to the point to where I actually checked my watch. I was like,
Yeah.
"How long we gonna be fucking with these little niggas?" It was they were. We went all throughout their entire fucking thing, and it really took you out of the movie. That's when I knew we were in for a tough situation.
Is this the longest origin story that we've gotten in recent memory in a superhero movie? Like, they don't even last this long in like Spider-Man movies. Like, they get him out of high school. They're like, he got to be swinging around. Is this
How
the
long-
longest? I think
How long
it
was
might
her
be.
mom? How long was her mom studying spiders in the Amazon? You know, that's the
Great
question. I
question.
have.
Well, not honestly, not that long, thankfully.
Not long enough. Okay.
Well, but we
No.
do kind of go back, right?
Like
when we're in like the
cumulatively.
healing
Yeah,
water.
yeah.
So if we added up all of the minutes, it's still not close to this.
Also,
It's like an RRR where like you don't get a title drop until
y'all
an hour
don't
and a half. in.
lie. Every single time they did this shot of his like eye power,
That was great.
I was like, this is amazing.
Okay,
was
so they used that for the cigarette? What did that mean? What did that mean?
I thought he was gonna like take the cigarette and trace the smell. Is he tracing the smell of the cigarette on
They
the
no,
van?
he's just
identified-
following the van.
They identified that the cigarette was Turkish, right?
Yeah, that's
I
helpful.
believe.
Right.
Right.
Detective Kraven
Right. Awesome.
on the case.
So
Yeah.
among
He's Sean
our
Spencer
cast
with
here,
super smell.
among our cast here, we have 2 Oscars and a Tony. Okay, in our main cast.
Please. That's erasure for Aaron Taylor Johnson's Golden Globe for Nocturnal Animals.
All right, can we be real about
This
Aaron
movie is
Taylor
And the
borderline
Golden Globes. So
EGOT.
I'm just saying. So I want to say this real quick. So we have 2 Oscars, a Tony, and a Golden Globe within our cast here, and everything is laughable, right? Russell Crowe is like literally he's doing Dostoevsky type shit. He's in like a completely different situation. I don't know how to say it. What does Sony not know about making movies? At this point, Morbius, Madam Web, the Venom movies, which actually are pretty decent watches, with this type of talent together, and now that we know there'll be no more of these movies, what is it that Sony could never get right about making superhero movies since the Amazing Spider-Man movie was over?
They're making villain movies, but they were like often unwilling to commit to like they were trying to make anti-hero movies to lead up, I guess, allegedly to a Sinister Six crossover. So they were trying to give us like iconic Spider-Man villains, but make them, you know, sympathetic, empathetic in some way. When perhaps they should have just gone full blownsies, like, you know, villain stories, and that could like if Kraven had just been a villain instead of a conservationist. He's a hunter, but also he's a conservationist. His name is Kraven the
Animal lover.
Hunter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Christ
I don't
alive.
understand at all. Make Dr. Michael Morbius an absolute psycho. Why not?
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
instead
get
of
rid of the
needle.
blue blood and like just
Yeah.
let him be an absolute monster.
Absolutely. You know, if that's what you're going to do, go for it. Don't give me this like halfway wishy-washy bullshit that we've been watching. Absolutely.
Also, are we correct in understanding that in a recent news article that the agreement that Sony had for these Spider-Man films that are focused around villains did not prevent them from putting Spider-Man in these films? Therefore, they could have had Spider-Man in some form or fashion in any of these movies, and they simply chose not to.
That's too easy. You know what I'm saying? That's too easy.
Of course.
I'm not
That's way
sure
too
that
easy.
story was verified.
Okay.
I don't
Because if that were the case, then I don't know of a studio situation that was more allergic to success than this outing of villain movies. But it seems to me that like at every turn that they try to make something interesting about a villain, I think with a small thing about Venom. Like Venom is only like it only seems to be lightning in a bottle for Tom Hardy's charisma and like creative juice that's behind that movie, and then we just kind of rode that goodwill for 3 other movies, and for all of these other ones, I like it's confusing in the sense that I don't think they know what they want to do with these stories, and I think that's the hardest part.
Yeah, I think I'm actually kind of like of two minds on the Spider-Man. Stop me if you've heard this before, Joanna. I'm of two minds. I'm at war with myself. Guys, I've had so much coffee today. My stomach lining is melting.
Hot up on cold brew. If you cannot see this, you must.
So I'm of two minds on this because on the one hand, I agree that it seems like absurd. It, verified or not, like, let's say play off the string on the possibility of it. I actually think there's a strong case against centering this era of output around Spider-Man because that would be happening in tandem against 2 really successful measuring sticks. You'd be going against what the MCU is doing with Tom Holland's Peter Parker. Now, this group has debated the various Spider-Mans, and, you know, mileage may vary on the success of the particular like mentor-mentee deployment inside of the MCU, but broadly, that's a irrefutably really successful character and series of movies. And you have the Spider-Verse movies, which are adored, cherished, revered. So you bring out a 3rd Spider-Man in lockstep contemporary timing with that, it better fucking be good. Flip side, right? You remember that moment at the end of season 1 of Succession when Logan shows up late for the wedding and they're like, he's a planet. You just feel like the way that the gravity in the room orients around one force.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that in Sony's Spider-Man universe, and they have dunked on themselves by naming it after a character who is only present in absentia. That's fucking weird. They are inviting people to mock their strategy. So I think that what you're saying about just sort of like the absence of a clear, coherent, unifying principle in the era of connected universes is really apparent here. And in addition to the lean in fully to the bit aspect of Venom, which like I love about those movies, there is a through line inside of that trilogy. There is just absolutely no strand of like Michael Keaton can show up at the end of Morbius all we want. There is no connective tissue between Morbius, Madam Web, and Kraven. There just isn't. Right?
So yeah, you're right.
What I would argue is that there doesn't have to be. Like, I don't think you have to have that if you execute on like tone. And the thing about the Venom movies like being a success is, this is my take on Venom. As you know, I did not love the 3rd movie, but I do like the first movie after he gets in the lobster tank at the restaurant. Everything after that in that movie works for me. Yeah. And then the second movie is really that energy through the whole movie. And what that is they were just like, fuck it, and went completely gonzo with it. And like, that is what you need for these kinds of characters without a hero story to anchor it. Because what Marvel did is they moved away from sort of like the gonzo tone that is available to you in a comic book universe. But like, if you're just going to do Spider-Man villains, which is all they have the, you know, legal right to do, why not just go for it? Why so serious, Sony?
So my thing is,
question.
and so I think I agree. So my thing is, obviously Spider-Man being in the movies gives the movies a North Star and almost a cheat code for them to be pleasing to us. But the question would be, can you make an interesting movie based upon these premises? The premise of a spoiled rich kid who lost his mother, has an overbearing mobster father, and becomes the world's greatest hunter and takes people out. Pretty interesting if you get a good script and you commit to it, right? Can you make an interesting movie about a doctor who is afflicted with this disease and in order to cure himself becomes this creature of the undead? Could you make a good movie about that, right? Spider-Man or no Spider-Man?
Is Matt Smith dancing in it? That's going to have a bearing on our answer.
You know what I mean?
Jared Leto involved at all? That's a question I have.
So what I'm saying is,
I don't know if you could though.
I think
like
you
I
could.
don't know because
I don't think that.
I don't know.
I think that any of those premises
because
with good scripts and actual commitment from the people making them could be good. They're almost actually lesser because of the Spider-Man expectations and the thoughts of the world. And we're reading the Daily Bugle, which is the only thing that exists from the fucking Spider-Man universe in any of these things.
Only newspaper in the world. Yeah.
Right. So, but go ahead, Jomi, you were saying?
I don't think it works because when I think about all these movies, and yeah, they try to make Kraven an anti-hero. They try to make Venom an anti-hero. They try to make Morbius an anti-hero, right? When I think about, oh, they're going to go fight Spider-Man, I'm like, why? What's the vibe there? If everybody's want to be, I want to protect people. I want to be the lethal protector. That's what Venom says. Kraven's like, I want to, protect people who are dying. Like, what? Spider-Man should be like, hey, stop killing people. That's it. It's not really, they're not really villains, really. And to Joanna's point, if you're not leaning all the way on that end, what are we here for? If they're supposed to all come together and fight Spider-Man, that was the goal, right? They're not really evil. I'm not like, ooh, I wonder what Spider-Man's gonna do. They're like, hey, we on the same team, kind of. Hey, I need you to chill out a little bit.
Well,
stop biting people's heads off, and we can keep it pushing.
You say
It
that,
really
Jomi.
don't mean nothing.
You say that, Jomi, but it really took until someone uttered the word Martha to get Batman and Superman on the same side. So, any hero can fight a hero if they want to. But I actually agree with you. I don't see a world in which Venom fights Spider-Man and it makes any sense to us at all.
Do you think it's more successful if they don't do the thing that they were trying for years, which are like, we're building to the Sinister Six? And I'm like, would this have been better if you're like, you know what, we're just going to do the Sinister Six and see what similar to like James Gunn's Suicide Squad, where you're like, we're going to see what characters work in this, and then you get Peacemaker. Because I'm like, they kept doing these like half steps, and I'm just like, I don't know if the audience is going to be with y'all for Morbius. Morbius don't even have, can anybody name a classic Morbius story? Probably not. Like, let's be real. Madam Web, nobody gives a fuck about Madam Web.
The Madam Web one was the one that was really, I was like, they really must be, they smelling themselves right now. Just because, so all of these movies, so all of these movies, when these movies coming out, I was like, Kraven? But like, I had seen Kraven, right? Mm-hmm. So I had seen Kraven. Kraven had been around. I'm like, Morbius? But I had seen Morbius. Venom actually made a lot of sense to me. But when they did Madam Web, I was expecting some revolutionary shit, because I haven't seen her in a comic book since 1989. And by the way, I can't say that Morbius was whatever. In all of these movies, there's the skeleton of a good time, which is the most frustrating thing. I enjoyed my time in Madam Web, partly because it was just so ridiculous.
All right, man.
All right.
Nah,
but
man.
Look, when I left Kraven, bruh, Rhino was legit cool. When Rhino and Kraven were facing off, I was thinking, how Kraven gonna pull this off? Rhinos don't stop.
They don't stop. How is Kraven gonna pull this off?
I was really thinking how Kraven gonna get out of this one. I really was thinking that. Rhino was unstoppable.
Yeah.
You needed Ariana DeBose to just shoot one more arrow out of a complete lack of character development, but to save the day and kill the coolest character in the film. Why?
Do you think that there was a love story between those two, and then they realized there was no chemistry and they cut that shit out?
She's billed as his love interest.
For sure.
She is. 100%. And it's just like, but
the movie is downright chaste.
Yeah. Instead she's like, I'm a lawyer.
Tragic.
Also, you suck. And at what cost? And I don't even like you, but I will follow you to the ends of the earth and give you a precious vial twice.
The movie didn't have time for that. Funeral. He literally he popped up on her at a funeral.
And he's like, don't worry,
crazy.
I already killed someone for you. And she's like,
we're good.
And then they went to the same park that the end of Eternals happened at, apparently.
Oh, I thought
and
it
just
was
looking over London.
Oh, 500
that's a cursed park.
Oh, Primrose Hill, right? Yeah,
that's a good bench.
Notting
Beautiful.
Hill. Yeah.
The only bench in London, by the way. Clearly, the only bench that exists.
If we're being positive, the chase scene when they kidnap Chameleon and Kraven is running on all fours was legit. That was lit.
The action scenes were great. That was great.
Prison scene was
Kraven
good.
snapping a guy's head with a bear
Yup.
trap was
Really
insane.
good.
That was amazing. Like, just if the whole movie had been that. Where do you guys rank on the Rhino front? Getting
Hi, that's the answer.
stabbed
In a
in
valve.
your medical port. Yeah,
Tough-
on like ways to
tough
go.
work.
Obviously, he is then subsequently crushed, but it really seemed like that did the bulk of the damage, given the magical eczema that Charles mentioned previously. I think it could have survived just the crushing force of the Humvees. It's really the internal bleeding, right? Is that what we're deducing?
I felt for Rhino when that happened. I was like, damn, not my man, in such a violent way. Guys, this movie is really good. Like, well, not really good. I can't lie.
Okay, counter question. The second that you saw him plug and unplug his little IV, like camel pack back in, were you instantly like, so that will be how he dies, right? This
Yeah.
very visible and easily reachable.
I'm like, they gonna
Like,
do the
Achilles
Bane. This is the
heel, at
Bane
least
shit. Yup.
At least you had to reach down for the Achilles heel or aim your arrow in the right place. Like, this is just like wrist level, hip
So,
level. Come on, make it harder.
Can I say something? So I didn't realize that Rhino was in the movie going into the movie. I don't know how I missed it, right? I don't know how I missed it that Rhino was in the movie. I
Same.
swear.
Same.
I didn't realize that Rhino
You.
was in the movie. So when he has the backpack on, I'm like, why is this motherfucker wearing a backpack? And then when he gets out to talk to the guys and he starts turning into Rhino, I legitimately had a moment of awe where I was like, oh shit, that's fucking Rhino. And then I waited for the whole rest of the movie for him to Rhino up. And then when he did, I'm sorry, I was not disappointed. I knew that his Achilles heel was going to get stabbed in his little hole, though. I knew that was going to be the thing that got him. He wasn't thinking
Crazy.
about
and
that.
that's the only penetration we got in this
Crazy.
entire fucking movie.
How
A
many
lot of people got stabbed, Mal.
of the
A lot of
millions?
people got penetrated with like tiger teeth and stuff.
You're right. I retract the comment.
Of the millions of dollars that they spent on this film, how many pennies do you think they spared for the Rhino CGI? That's my question.
Ooh.
The face is just
It's
Man.
really
Um,
funny.
They had $3 and they used all of them.
every of those $3.
But also, Joanna, I can't let y'all get away with the foreigner sucked. I hated him. His
Terrible.
power was
What?
terrible.
He was terrible.
He
No,
was
man.
terrible.
He was
Every
terrible.
single time, he was just like, I'm behind you now. I'm like, I get this motherfucker out the sky.
Well, did explain that, by the way. Would you show up?
He mesmerizes
One,
them with
two,
his eyes.
three.
He's
He takes off his
hypnotizing them.
defender sunglasses, and then he
That's what's
mesmerizes
happening?
them. And he
I
does
watched
them
every
like,
episode of Girls, and so I believed it.
Exactly.
Wow.
I believed in
No,
the
no. It was
Absolutely.
wait. He's Charlie on Girls, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
what was annoying. I'm like,
No, Chris
motherfucker, I
Abbott
seen
was
you in
great.
downtown Brooklyn. You ain't no
was great
fucking
in this.
supervillain, bro.
He looked great in a gray turtleneck. He looked cool as shit. He knows his flora and fauna. Give me more of the foreigner. I would watch it.
I liked him.
He does.
Like, I thought he was
silver
one.
bullshit. Turns your gun around to face you. He's a scamp. I just I'm having a great time with him. Loved it.
Also, and the chameleon, he sucked too. I couldn't with the chameleon, bro. It was rough.
Charles, you're like our most renowned music critic on this podcast. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rank Going Through Changes as the song choice at the end of the movie, right before the chameleon?
Honestly, you guys are gonna think I'm lying. I was there for it. It did kind of like because here's the thing. Even if I didn't like Grown Up Chameleon, the little two youngins, I did feel for him when he's like, damn, you gonna leave me with Russell Crowe?
Yeah,
So I was happy with all the song choices except Harry Styles. I felt like we could have done Cisco's Thong Song. We could have done Genuine's Differences. We could have done a lot of shit there. Also, can I just say, what was going on with his voice when he's like, I can imitate anyone, and it would just be Russell Crowe's voice, like he wasn't even trying? They would just like ADR the voice in?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he had to sound exactly like him.
so that they could say like 17 times in the movie. I'm like,
That's
He
cheating.
did not, okay, Mallory, you prepped me for that. He really only said it once, though I understand.
I thought it was
like,
twice.
No, I understand. Russell Crowe says it. He's like, my
Okay,
son,
there's
my
definitely
son,
more than one
you like
reference
a
to his
chameleon.
chameleonic nature
Yes.
before
He does
his
Tony
reveal.
Bennett.
Yes.
Chameleon,
He
you know
does
that.
Tony
Yeah.
Bennett for me because I don't trust anyone who doesn't like Tony Bennett. What are you talking about, Russell Crowe?
Speaking of Russell Crowe, we haven't talked specifically about Russell Crowe. I really do feel like Russell Crowe in this movie, he's trying to bring it. He's being old Russian vodka dripping oligarch from like a John Wick movie. He's trying as hard as he can, and nobody will play with him. I feel like Russell Crowe was semi-decent in the movie.
He was
He's
really good.
playing
Have we
this as-
brought up though the pouring drink scene yet?
What do you want
No.
to say about it?
I don't think we have, no.
When he was just like, "I'm gonna pour you a man's drink."
was-
Oh my
This
god!
was a-
Right, yeah.
And it was
Brawling.
It was just a swig.
Thimbleful.
I was like, "What's going on?"
Outrageous. What I wanted was for that to be one more test for his fail sons. Like,
Yes,
and
yeah.
he's like, you thought
And
that
you
was
just
a
sip
man's
it.
drink, like, and then
And
just
he throws
I was
his
rinsed
waiting
it.
drink in
for
the
that.
face or something.
it's
But
just
they thought that was an
incredibly
acceptable
funny
pour.
Why?
because he goes out of the way to be like, pour a man's drink, and it's not even half a shot.
when
Like, what?
when Craven gets the neurotoxin and he's like forced the the hallucinations and he sees spiders everywhere and his mom was
Yes.
like spiders. I mean,
Mhm.
what is that if like other than being like a Spider-Man setup, what the fuck was that?
Oh, I hated that.
I hated it.
Very weird.
I was out. I was
Who knows?
out on that shit.
I
I was
hated
like,
that.
Who
"Come
knows,
on."
Joanna?
This movie, which is way longer than it should be, smacks of like having cut like they cut like 25% of the story out. It
Yeah.
barely makes sense and it's still too long. How?
Too long and yet too short at the same time. I couldn't understand.
Is this
it.
what you
how
wanted,
do
Van?
you guys?
Van, when you texted all of us and demanded we all get on a Zoom together to talk about this movie, is this what you envisioned? Is this
Yeah,
was this the
because
dream?
I invented, because there's no way for me to like aptly kind of put together my thoughts, even with the boys and what I was thinking about the movie, because it means so much. It's the movie that killed an idea. Like the Sony
The dream of
movie
Rome.
universe is over. It's over, right? And so it's actually sort of a monumental type of thing, in a way that after Venom: The Last Dance came out, there was talk, and you never know what to believe, that Sony had a whole plan for Noel. That Noel was going to be in 4 different movies, and Noel was going to be this big bad, and all of this stuff was happening, and blah, 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 blah. This movie not having a post-credit scene tells you that they said,
Troubling.
enough. Done, no
Yeah.
more. So we're signing off from the Sony villain verse, and when I walked out of the theater, I was like, yeah, that's probably it. They're not fucking around no more.
They're still doing the live action Spider-Man Noir series for Amazon Prime with Nick Cage. What could possibly go wrong?
I will
with
watch
that?
every.
I will watch
second of
every
that
single episode of that
and
as well.
look forward to talking about every second of it with all of you.
I know.
This-
I think
that
we should
will be
expect that to
coming.
be a very special and memorable time. Memorable how? Who can say? Before we move on to actually going through the funeral, performing the funeral rites for Sony's Spider-Man universe, quick question for everyone. You have to pick. You can only keep one. Russell Crowe's accent in this movie or Russell Crowe's accent
In Thor.
in Love and Thunder?
Oh, it's the Thor accent because
Okay.
in terms
Yeah,
of
Love
like
and Thunder.
Love and Thunder.
Russian oligarchs, it's
Yeah.
Kenneth Branagh and Tenet. Like that's the
Yeah.
I'll have to take your word for it. I couldn't understand a single word in Tenet.
It's Ken Branagh and Tenet being like, do you know what I admire about the tiger? That's way better than anything Russell Crowe does in this movie. But whatever Russell Crowe Greek-ish accent he was doing in Thor, that's the one. That's,
Can I ask you
nothing better
guys,
to urge.
industry question, which pocket universe do you think was more damaging to its company? The Snyderverse or the Sony Spider-Man?
or the Dark
It's-
universe?
Or the
Dark
Dark,
Universe.
Dark
Ooh,
Universe.
the Dark
easily.
Universe.
Dark
is
Universe
by
never happened.
far
What?
the answer.
Follow point. Russell Crowe has been a part of all 3.
Yes.
Damn.
Yes, he has.
Damn.
Yes, he has.
You hate to see it.
I would say,
Hey,
but Dark
but the
Universe
dark, it's
didn't really
easily
happen,
it's
though.
easily the Dark Universe though. The Dark Universe.
It's got to be the Dark
literally
Universe.
It's got to be the Dark Universe.
It's the
You
single
remember that
greatest
picture with
active
Russell
Hollywood
Crowe
movie ever
Yeah.
had.
and Tom Cruise
Oh, well, I have
and
it on my
Angelina
wall.
Jolie and Javier Bardem.
I kiss it every
And they're
night
all
before I go to
sitting
bed,
around.
Jomi. I think about it all the time. It's one of the
Oh,
best things I've
man.
ever seen.
But
It's
honestly,
the Last
though,
Supper.
the thing with the Dark Universe is this is why sometimes when we're having these, oh my God, what a great, huge, bankable behemoth Tom Cruise is as a movie star. I'm like, you guys, there were some lean years where some shit came out. I remember going to see that shit. I was like, yo, what the fuck is going on? It's like, it's fucking terrible. But that they made a big deal about it. And then at least these Sony movies got some sort of critical of cultural traction.
Venom.
I mean, they commercially, I
And
feel like
Morbid
Sony's
Monday.
probably like, we made like Madam Web supposedly is popping on Netflix. Motherfuckers are like, hell yeah, I'm watching Madam Web. So not as
that
bad.
true?
As
Yes,
we
but they're
probably
like hate.
Because of the memes?
They're hate watching Madam Web. They're like,
Yeah.
I couldn't
Yeah.
bring myself to see it in the theater, but I would like to
I
understand.
want to understand the rich source material behind the memes.
what her mom was doing in the Amazon studying spiders just
Whoa, whoa,
before.
whoa. Guys. When all the girls are in the diner,
Yeah.
Pretty
Dancing on the
funny.
table.
Dancing on the table.
hilarious. And
Memorable.
the car comes straight through and they all start freaking out. Amazing stuff. Honestly, these movies were actually pretty good. On the whole,
No.
I'm going to miss this universe.
Charles,
That's not true.
I'm gonna miss
That's
it
none of
too.
that is
I'm going to
true.
miss it.
Definitely.
no, just
Yeah.
Darren
Whoa,
is
guys.
bigger.
At least 60% of these movies were watchable to entertaining, which I think is like a good shooting average.
No, these movies.
60%?
These movies are just burning stacks of cash in order to provide you with absolute schlock that is fun to make fun of with your friends. But we can do that on a much lower budget without wasting talented people's times. Like that. Like that's what we used to live in a society where when you made
We used to go to the
Right.
moon,
You
Joanna.
made it.
What,
We used to go to the
really,
moon.
Joanna, what did we keep Dakota Johnson from with Madam Web? What did we keep her
Damn, Steve,
from?
with the
Um,
drive-by. God
I
damn.
like Dakota Johnson, but like
Wow, that was
Um,
crazy.
Steve.
we used to live in a society where when we made shitty movies, we made it with nobody actors and nobody directors and with for low budgets. And then we would watch them on late night television. And that was the end of the day. Now our major motion pictures, our tent pole films are trash. And we're like, that sounds great to me. No, nay, I demand better for us.
Joanna,
So-
on any other episode, I would be on your side, but we're not trying to hear any of that negativity right now. This is a positive circle. Okay.
So
And we're talking positively
the
about a great
movies.
movie.
The movies were budgeted at between $595 and $639 million for the 6 films. The box office ended up being around $2.13 billion, or one in-game.
Subtract the first Venom from that, and what's the total?
Even the
on the
second
box
Venom.
office? Yeah.
The Venom movies were pretty successful. Most of these films,
Yeah, they're very
Like-
successful.
Incredibly popular.
most of these films,
Did any
fucking
movies outside
sucked.
of Venom? Did any movie outside of Venom even make back its budget?
It looks like
I
Madam
think
Web.
Morbius actually did.
Madam Web broke even. It looks like.
Really?
Her. Good for her.
Great.
Hell yeah! Hell yeah!
Yeah.
I think Morbius turned a profit for sure.
Oh shit!
Oh, it's Morbin time. Remember the movie came out.
Morbius definitely turned a profit.
The thing that's invisible inside of a budget though often is like the promotional,
Marketing.
like the
Mhm.
yeah.
For sure.
promotional marketing budget is invisible, and so these like sort of it made a profit or it just broke even is often
Right.
not true,
Losses for
Am
the
I
studio.
totally-
for
oh,
sure.
what were you saying, Mel?
and it's also loss of gloss, loss of prestige, loss
Right.
of the claim.
But in place of prestige, acclaim,
Self-respect.
reputations of consequence,
Yes.
Dignity.
box office returns, critical praise, in place of all that,
Yeah.
I would posit that we left with something.
Mm.
Currency that we value.
Mm.
Our memories,
Yes.
our shared experiences.
Yes.
Yes.
Everyone on this Riverside link, until the day you leave this mortal coil, will remember what it felt like
Talk
when
about
an
it.
intrepid soul stood up. I want to say it was this like Comic-Con around House of the Dragon, and asked Matt Smith about Morbin time, and he had not a fucking clue what that person was talking about. That share and enjoy together, and that's meaningful.
Yes, it is.
I think if we're giving like credit to this universe, I think that this is the superhero universe that inspired the best memes. We got Morbin time.
Without
we got
question.
Amazon. We got the Amazon memes.
Yes.
Wait, am I memory holing where basically Sony put Morbius back in theaters because they thought people would actually go to see it? And then
Yes.
did?
Yes.
Guys, we got entertainment.
We need to bring it back.
Yo.
Jared Leto on his
Christ.
Twitter reading the script for Morbius 2. It's Morbin time. We had the most fun. We had the most fun having fun with these movies, but I'm not sad that they're gone because you know why? I'll tell you why. First of all, I didn't realize that the first Venom made $856 million. That's a legitimate Hollywood blockbuster.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a legitimate. Okay, that's a legitimate Hollywood blockbuster. Okay, for sure. But every single time one of the movies would come out,
half the total that you read out. That's nearly
half for sure.
All of the movies. Yeah.
Not great.
Every time one of these movies would come out, for some reason, I would think that they were gonna get it right. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Like
Charlie Brown
Kraven,
with the football, really?
bruh. Charlie Brown with the football. Kraven comes out and it's like they got Russell Crowe, they got Triple Frontier, they got Ariana DeBose. So the old girl did the thing. They got all of these people in the movie, and like they got all of these people in the movie. I'm like, they just at some point they gonna fuck around and make a good one. Because at this point, you would fuck around and make like a really good one, and they couldn't do it on accident. So thanks for the memories, but we got to move on from Sony, man. We have to.
We hardly knew you.
Thanks.
The Sony Spider-Man universe with no Spider-Man in it.
They're making such absolute trash these days. They're Ghostbusters films. Like they're just the folks running the show at Sony are straight up.
Hey,
criminal.
the Spider-Verse got some directors though. So Beyond the Spider-Verse got directors. So
no plans for 2025. Yay.
I want to. Amy Pascal left Sony, is doing the Spider-Verse movies. Like her Pascal Productions is doing that. But the rest of Sony is Pascal-less. And you can say what you want about Amy Pascal, but it has been way worse since she left. So, yeah.
It's true. Just check her emails, though. Just check her emails.
That's not
hey, man.
straight up uncool.
Hey, man. Come on, man.
Straight up uncool.
Jesus Christ.
Woof.
Hey, no, she actually is obviously her and Scott. They're obviously, fantastic filmmakers. They just don't like Obama. So it is what it is. Look, so as we sign off, because I don't feel like we need to spend too much time here.
We have to answer the question Joanna posed in the group chat the other day. What was the low point? Like, what if you have to pick one low point from this experience, right?
From
Should we
Kraven or
for
from
a
the
low
whole
point
thing?
and a high point? No, the whole thing. Like, what was the
worst thing you saw in a?
We gotta really, this is where we each take our shovel,
Yeah.
Okay,
Like,
so I'll go first.
Rip did it alone on Yellowstone, but we're each gonna grab the shovel and put one heap of dirt on.
I'll go first. Low point, high point. The low point for me is easily the Madam Web reveal at the end of Madam Web. It was preposterous.
Yeah.
It was absurd.
It looked like the end of a 30 Rock sketch. Like,
it was absurd.
bad.
That's the low point. The high point, and you guys can talk about it after. The high point to me is at the end of Venom: The Last Dance, when Venom and Eddie have to say goodbye to each other.
Nah.
I realized just how much I enjoyed them being together, man. I really thought
you liked the end of Fast and Furious.
Dan turned to me and like shoved a dagger in my heart and was like, "They did it, Joanna." And I was like, "You were hating with me the whole movie." The whole movie, you were hating with me, and then you were like, "They did it, Joanna."
Yeah.
Is the low point that this collective universe was named the Sony Pictures universe of Marvel characters, aka the SPUMC.
That's so funny.
The Spumka. Is that the actual low point?
S to the U to the M to the P.
I'm gonna have to give it to I think it is literally anything to do with Dr. Michael Morbius. That was it for me. That's it for me. That's one of the worst things I've ever seen in a movie theater.
Right.
All of Dr. Michael Morbius. So yeah.
But was the high point also in Morbius when
Matt Smith was dancing?
Matt Smith danced.
That's it, dancing shirtless.
Mal, how about you?
man.
What's your Steve?
My
Nope.
my low point, I think, is the moment in Madam Web when it's in the God, what a shit show. This part of the beginning. I can't believe this was real. When Ezekiel's like in the background of the shot speaking, and even though he's in the background, you can clearly see that his mouth is not moving.
Oh, the
Yes.
ADR. I would say
That is the low
what about
point.
the ADR
The fact
throughout?
that made the final cut. I mean, throughout,
The
but that
ADR
one
and
was
Kraven.
so galling. Like that was the like coffee cup making it into Thrones of this experience. It's just like how. And then just to offer a little bit of variance from Van's high point, which I probably also would have picked. Great moment. I'll go with Venom and Mrs. Jen dancing to Dancing Queen, which was
That's great.
Genuine no notes.
Did you see?
To me, I loved everything about it.
Did you
It was
see the
perfect.
behind the scenes of that scene with the guy in like his CGI suit with his like with the stilts that he were out, like they mocapped that.
Wonderful, remarkable,
Wonderful.
great
Jomi,
stuff.
Jomi, what's your low point?
It's actually really funny that Mal said that. My low point is Venom dancing with Mrs. Chen.
Yes, thank you.
No!
Yes.
Dare you?
That was one of the it's one of
Absolutely
the
not.
worst things I've ever seen. That's one of those things where that goes on. And you're like, all right. So none of us, like, we all know this is a bit, right? Like this.
They have a special relationship.
I now
dare
understand
you.
that you did not take this seriously at all, and so now we have a firm understanding of what this is. Okay, you use this, you got to check. Congratulations. Bet. Say no more. I'm not taking this movie seriously because you are not taking this movie seriously. I'm glad that we all understand that. That was that for me. My high point, however, man, that credit scene in Venom when you see what's his name, Woody Harrelson with the bad wig. I was like, oh man, I'm gonna get real
That's a
cinema.
good one.
I sometimes think of what it would have been like to have been potting with Joe at that time and to have gotten
my
to
gosh.
like directly enjoy Wig Watch TM with Joanna Robinson TM
man.
for that moment.
I did write down a wig watch note for Alexander Rhino, young Rhino, and his hair in the flashback. Steve, what's your low point, high point?
Low point for me, it's both in Madam Web. It's the CGI Pepsi can that we saw at the barbecue. That like dependent on where that person was holding a Pepsi can, the logo did not turn.
Gotta get that money. Money.
Gotta
Don't
get
pay.
the
The
money.
movies don't pay for themselves.
High point is obviously in Venom Let There Be Carnage when Woody Harrelson is beating our hero and saying that that's bad journalism.
Yeah.
That's bad journalism.
Great
That's a
one.
staple. That's a
great
staple.
one.
That's a staple.
Great one.
Good meme. Great meme.
Quick runner up is when you got them internets and he puts his fingers in the Ethernet ports.
Yes. That was
Christ.
insane. That was a crazy thing that happened.
Let There Be Carnage.
my
real,
God.
Wonderful.
real.
Absolutely
high
incredible.
That
point
movie's
of our
like
career.
78 minutes when you take away the credits.
And that's what you need. That's what you really need.
Get in, get out.
Loved it. I believe that was like the first time I went back to a movie theater during COVID.
Was for Venom Let There Be Carnage.
I think so. I'm pretty
You're a
sure.
maniac.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Just in case anyone's watching or listening to this and they're like, have you
Where's
guys
Charles?
silenced Charles? We have not.
Yeah.
His internet's
His
cutting in and
computer
out.
crashed from a technical standpoint.
Yeah. What do we think Charles's low point would have been? What do we think his high point would have been?
His low point is
Should we
this podcast.
text him and ask?
His low point is this podcast where we are shitting on something that he has decided to commit to the bit and say is great.
His high
You
point
love
would
Let
have
There Be
probably been
Carnage.
bad journalism, though. Because he loved, because we went nuts
He
when
loved
Bad
Let There Be
Journalism dropped.
Yeah.
Charles, we've each awarded our low point and our high point in the history of this cinematic universe. Care to chime in?
High point easy when Carnage, hopefully nobody stole this, connected to the worldwide through a USB port on a computer. Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Low point, honestly, the weird spider people in Madam Web. When she went to the Amazon, that was a little.
Where her
I was
mother
like,
was studying spiders.
Yeah.
Right
All that
before
Spiders
shit.
in the Amazon?
Oh, okay.
Oh, you know what? Actually, no. Actually, I changed it. This is also in Madam Web. Just the egregious Pepsi of it all. Every shot.
that
was
one
like,
low.
would you
That.
like?
You and
Mike
Steve are
Epps
really
holding the
twinning,
Pepsi
and
can,
I love
and then
that for
Dakota
you.
Johnson holding the Pepsi can.
Yeah.
Yep.
Beautiful. Yeah.
It is beautiful.
Gotta get that bread.
Maybe it is the friends.
Boy, Madam
Mallory,
Web came up a lot.
Mallory, maybe
in
it
low
is the
points.
friends we made along the way. Maybe it
There
is
you
the collage of you posing near a shirtless Kraven standee that I now have on my phone.
Also,
Maybe
was
that's-
Mike Epps in Madam Web?
Yes.
Mike
You
Epps
did
was
not
in Madam
imagine
Web.
that.
Yes,
Yeah.
He was.
Yeah,
that
didn't
was
they
real.
kill him off?
He was.
they
I was
did.
very
Yeah,
sad. That was also
he
a low
died.
point. When they killed off Mike Epps, I'm like, damn.
What about when
And she
I'm
could- and she
thinking
could
of
have
naming
saved
the
him.
baby Peter?
Also, when Dakota Johnson was at the baby shower,
Yeah.
Yo. So wait,
Wild.
we watched 3 Sony movies this year, right? We watched
Astonishing.
3.
Madam Web,
Yeah.
Let There
Yeah.
Be, or
Venom.
The Last
Last
Dance,
Dance.
Oh,
and
shit.
Kraven.
Kraven.
Yeah.
Fuck,
Yeah.
Marry, Kill.
Oof.
For the movie.
For the 3 movies. For 3 movies.
How do you fuck a movie?
Well,
Well,
you know
actually,
what
I
I'm
guess
saying?
yeah, you don't need to
Mallory,
answer
know
that.
it.
I think we all know.
You know a fucking
Um,
movie.
Fuck, marry, kill. All right, I mean,
I'm going to marry
I'm gonna-
Venom.
Okay, I got mine.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
marry Venom.
yeah.
I'm going to fuck Kraven and kill Madam Web.
That's the answer.
There
I
you
think
go.
That's
That's it.
the only
That's the
answer.
answer.
Yep.
Yes.
That's got to be
Correct.
the
Yeah.
answer.
Mhm.
That's
Correct.
the
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah,
That's
that was
the
easy.
answer.
Damn.
Yeah.
Man.
Did we do it?
And if we got to
We
fuck
did it.
Kraven, there'd finally be some sex in that movie. Great stuff.
Guys,
What a time this was.
let me tell you
This is a
something.
blessing.
As a
Had a
crew,
blast.
as a House of Midnight, we have made it to the end of not just this podcast, but the end of the Sony Spider-Man Heroes universe, villains universe. It's over.
SDUMC.
It's not the Sony universe we wanted, but it's the one we deserved.
Bumka.
Mm. You know,
So
Ew.
I had literally written out a whole
Ew.
obituary, but I'm not going
Read
to
it.
do it. No, I don't
Read
want
it.
to
No,
do
read
it.
it.
do it.
Read
Absolutely
it.
do it.
Read it.
Read
Read
it.
Yes,
Read
read
it.
it. Read it. Read
Read
it.
it.
Read
Read
it.
it.
I don't
Read
wanna
it.
do
Read it
I don't
in
wanna
Russell
do it
Crowe's
'cause
accent.
We'll ADR it in later.
But so like what then last thing, hope. Hope is the thing we always leave on here.
Oh, is
Yes.
it?
Yeah.
Okay.
If Sony is
Hope
going
or
to be
cope?
in the Superman, if Sony is going to be in the superhero game, what do we want from them? Do we want the whoring of the Spider-Man IP, or what do we want from them? Do we want more animation? Do we want live action Spider-Man separate from the MCU? This is definitely not what we wanted. What is fair to ask from Sony before we get out of here if they're going to be in the genre, the space that we cover? Ladies first.
Well, I heard you guys all are just clamoring for live action Spider-Man more. So there's that. I mean, I do think
I'm
that there
content.
are
I'm
like
getting what I want.
there are good spider stories to tell. It's just I think what we've all circled, and I think Charles or Steve is one who actually said this, is just sort of like just the Sinister, stop trying to make the fetch that is a Sinister Six happen. And you've got other stories you can tell in the Spider-Man universe. The list of characters that they have access to is insane. It is so long. It's page like when we were doing the Marvel book, we printed it out. It's just pages and pages and pages of characters that they have the legal access to because of this deal that they have with Marvel. And so this experiment failed. Try again. There are other spider characters that you can do a better job with.
Yeah, I mean, not to be like too obvious and reductive about it, but like good movies with an intense, some vision and a little soul. Like we're in the era of like glut and ubiquity, right? And so I think often the things that we respond the most sincerely to are the things that feel like they have like a real purpose and a sense of self. And like, I actually mean that sincerely, right? Like if you're, that is genuinely as why I like the Venom movies, is because they are, and Charles and I had a really fascinating conversation with Sean about this with the third one, where Sean actually felt like that series had kind of eaten its own tail in that respect, like become so self-aware. And then like kind of also in that era of big IP movie making, right? Like where you can go too far on the self-aware scale, but like know what you're trying to do and then do that unapologetically. And like people will respond to something that feels like it's authentic, not just like something that it's existing for the sake of having access to the IP and trying to make money. There's just too much choice. There's too much choice in the movie theater. There's too much choice at home. There's too much choice in any number of different forms in culture right now. So you got to make something good. That is like a very obvious thing to say, but it's, I think, the starting point, right? And like when you watched Venom, the first Venom movie, whether you had any interest in that character or that property heading into that, you were probably going to leave saying, that was definitely a movie that knew what it wanted to be. And so it was memorable. It left an impression. And it was something that people then wanted to experience and understand and talk about. And here we are all this time later still talking about it. Now, we are also talking about Madam Web. Came up a lot today for very different reasons and in very different ways. I actually do think, weirdly, we will be talking about Madam Web for quite some time. I don't know that we will have an excuse to think about Morbius for like the rest of our careers or lives. And that's really the tragedy. Like making something utterly forgettable, that's the miss.
That's kind of what I mean, is like this all feels, even Venom to a certain degree feels like kind of culturally disposable at the end of the day. Like I understand that like it's lit up our lives in various ways the last couple of years, but I don't think it's like 10 years from now, someone new is going to be like, I want to watch Venom. That sounds exciting to me. You know what I mean? It feels like a sort of, you had to be there, moment, and it's not going to endure. And I want us to make more stories that last. For the memes is not it, you know? So
give us Miles Morales, throw the bag at Sydney Sweeney, be like, hey, yo, we got a Black Cat movie. Like we can't do all the cute shit no more. We don't care about these characters. Just give us the ones we care about. Sign Tom Holland to another 3-picture deal. Stop playing around. Just No. I don't want the C-listers anymore.
Yeah, I think that's the right move. You got to get Miles Morales in live action.
I mean, yeah. I'm not sorry, Jomi. I don't mean to cut you off. I want to hear everything you have to say, but I just want to say really quickly, like the C-listers can go. Iron Man was like a C-lister. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to have a top tier character to make a top tier movie or a top tier franchise.
There's a difference between Iron Man and Morbius, though. Like there's levels to the C-list.
Correct. Jomi, I'm sorry I cut you off.
He's right. Not lying.
Also, like, it's Robert Downey Jr. Like, there is a little bit like when we're like, oh, there's no bad characters. I'm like, no, that's true. But also, like, not everybody's Favreau. Like,
no, not everyone's Favreau, not everyone's Downey, but like, Tom Hardy kind of pulled it off. But as it turns out, Jared Leto doesn't have that juice. So who knew? I maybe could have told you that, but you didn't ask me. So that's okay.
Yeah. You got to play the hits, man. Got to play the hits. Give us Miles Morales. Give us Green Goblin. Do like, you know what I'm saying? Stop. You're being cute. You're being coy. Give the people what they want. Lock in. Be serious.
Be dedicated to something. And even if it isn't finding the most popular character, find the best idea that you can and commit to it, and don't find a thing that is going to make excuses for either cutting corners or squeezing out the most amount of profitability, because at the end of the day you're still going to end up with a loss because it'll just be seen as a product and not anything else.
Yeah, well, whenever they come out, we'll see it.
What's your hope?
Yeah. My hope is that people put story first. Whatever the character is, whatever the thing is, just put story first. Put story first. Put craft first. And understand that while we are in a way captured by the imaginations and the fantasies that we had when we were kids, we're not lobotomized by them. and it sometimes feels like they think it's one way and not the other. That's what I would say. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Nicely said.
That is a wrap. Tomorrow, the Midnight Boys will give you their reactions to episode 3 and 4, Skeleton Crew. And Thursday, House of R will be giving you their deep dive on Skeleton Crew. The plucky kids are plucking it up. We're loving it here at the Ringerverse. Charles is liking it. We'll see how he feels about these next 2 episodes. Also on Thursday, the Midnight Boys will be giving you their reactions to the teaser of Superman Legacy. Once again, very high leverage teaser trailer. I can't think of a time where I felt this way before. Maybe Phantom Menace.
Christ.
But it's a high leverage.
Let's not, man, save it.
It's not.
All right, man. No.
Our producers are Steve, the architect Ahlman, Aleya, SOB, Zenieris, with editing by Cameron Dinwiddie and Jomi. Adeniran on socials. Chuck, please take us out.
Madam Web was pretty bad. Kraven was fine. This universe is thankfully dead, but it will always be Morbin time.
Pew, pew.